I mean, that's all it's got. So
No, that's fine. That's good. Come on now, Zoom. All right, looks like our live feed is up and running now. Sweet. You guys got any questions before we start?
No.
yeah, I'm good.
Cool. Sorry, I'm just getting all these YouTube settings. Good to go here. That.
Got a lot of 120s on your wall there,
I sure do, and I'm proud of every one of
Ryan.
them.
No, no, Ryan, not you.
I thought he was talking to me.
He kept telling the whole day. He's like, "Yeah, he's only 120. He's 120." So it's just like a running joke now that about his deer. It was funny. He was underselling himself by a lot actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty incredible feat, man. Killing a buck of that caliber. That's insane.
Yeah.
I'll save it for the episode. I'm done now with these stupid settings. So we got that good to go, and we will kick this off. All right, you boys ready?
Yep.
All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash, hosting you guys. Got two of our Fall Obsession team members joining me here today. Ryan Reading from New York, Staffer of the Year. He's on the show with us. And then Mike Petrosky. Welcome back to the podcast, man. Happy to have you guys.
Yeah, good to be here, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Got a big hunt that we want to recap, and I always enjoy doing this with our staffers as hunting season kind of it's not winding down yet. There's still plenty of season left, it seems. It'll be over before we know it, though. But definitely as we move through the season into the off season, definitely enjoy recapping some of these hunts and experiences. And man, I'm gonna shut up and let y'all talk about it because Ryan, it might be appropriate just kind of set the stage for our viewers as far as what you had going on up there in New York, the caliber of deer you were eyeballing this year, and hit lister number one and the efforts that you were putting in to try and make something happen on this deer.
Yeah, long time coming, that's for sure. So annually, obviously, we hold the New York hunt. We have some of the Fall Obsession team come up. Usually, we pick different people. Um, it's just a good time. Everybody gets to meet each other. We have a good time, and that's just what it is. So, um, getting right into it, I kind of the deer that we're talking about, obviously, the large buck, the Big 12 that I was able to take this year. Um, I had watched him. It was 2 years total. He had showed up last year. I was able to take a good buck last year. Older buck, 8 years old. We called him Floppy, and I believe the genetics were kind of the same. It may even be, his lineage, his father, or something like that. But that deer was just about 8 years old, and we have our trail cams. I run a lot of Tacticams. I mean, that's my gig. I've learned a lot. It's just it's become my tool. It's not my go-to and it's not the answer for everything, but it's just a tool in my bag that I can use. And I preach to people like I did it to the guys actually why they were here. I'm telling people how you set up on these deer, right? And when you learn their whole cycle, their whole movement, their whole circle from A to B all the way back around, bedding, food, wherever they're going, and they're making their complete circles, if you have the cameras along that corridor, the whole corridor, um, it's easier to predict when they're gonna show up. So it's kind of like I'm not just sitting one of 15 stands for no reason. Um, so using the cameras, it's easier to predict when they're gonna show up. Uh, for example, if he goes past camera 1, 2, and 3, and his standard cycle is to go 4, 5, and 9, that 4, 5, and 9 are his next moves or his next option.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just it was a long time coming. It's 2 years in the making. And I honestly didn't think I was going to get this deer. Michael even said I'm underselling myself on it because I call it the big 120. So um, yeah, I mean I don't know. It's heartbreaking and it's at the same time because I say it's heartbreaking. I'm truly happy to take this deer, right? Like it's once in a lifetime, but it's heartbreaking because I'm not going to see him on my cams anymore. You know what I mean? I lived
Yeah.
for that. I was able to see that day in and day out, and it's a great caliber deer. So it hasn't been officially scored or anything. The taxidermist was at like 163 is what he scored it, and it's only because it should be well over 200, but the Pope and Young does not allow three measurements. It's like the spread, the points, and I think the largest spread, something like that. I don't know, it's outside or whatever that you would normally do, but that's what he was explaining to me. So it should be well in the 200s. But I mean, I didn't do it for the book. You know, it's not like I mean, that's a great bonus, but
Hmm.
I just hunted this deer as hard as I could, and I'm glad that it happened when the team was here, uh, because there was a lot of emotion. So, I mean, I can kind of break it down for you. We can kind of talk about everything. So the
Yeah.
guys kind of came up, um, they were here for a week. I think it was the 28th through the 2nd or something like that. And my goal as a host is to get everybody set up. Like I have to make sure that they're going to see some deer. They're going to, experience kind of what I tell them. So it's like, hey, you're going to go here and this is what's going to happen. And it's because I've done my research. I've put them in their positions. Does it happen like that all the time? No. But most of the time, they're seeing deer, they're having a good time, they're understanding the farm, they get to learn, that particular area, besides the other area that we have up on the hill. Um, and that as a host, I feel like I'm a host because I'm an advocate for them. So it's like, here, you do what you want to do, you pick these stands, and a lot of times they're asking me, hey, where do I go? So I
Right.
put them where they should go. Um, I'll get right to it. So that morning, I'll t- I- it's an odd situation. So that morning, of the 29th, the guys, I had woke up late. So the guys they know where the farm is, they know how to get there, and they were already there. So it was like 6 o'clock, and I think they were arriving, and I was like just leaving my house. I was like, I overslept. My alarm didn't go off. There was an issue. They're like, hey, we're already here. Like, we're not waiting on you, buddy. Like,
We're gonna go deer hunting.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
not, we didn't drive all the way up here to just wait for you. I'm like, listen, you know where the sets are. Go ahead. We talked about this the night before where everybody was going to sit and, so they're like, yeah, they're gung ho. They're like already strapping in, ready to go. And I said, I'm going to be about like 25 minutes before I get there. Okay. So I get there. Well, before that, I'm halfway there, and a buddy of mine that hunts with me on the farm lease. His name is Steve. He actually overslept. He works like second shift, and then he tries to get some sleep and go to work, and it's hard. So he calls me and he's like frantic. He's like, dude, I overslept. My alarm didn't even go off. Like my wife woke me up, and he's like, hey, I'm just gonna go to an area we call the five. He's like, I'm gonna just go to the five. This is a 5 acre section that's kind of thick. It's a little thick area, but it's more like a bedding region that they cut through, and it's just on the backside of the farm that we have permission on. It's a nice little area in there. Um, but I was like, that's where I was gonna go. That was my MO for that day. That was like, I'm gonna go sit there because there's a big eight that I was uh also following. I'm like, well, I mean, I would take either one of them. I don't have, any qualms. I'm just like, hey. So I was like, me being me, I said, okay, Steve, go ahead. Just I know you're gonna be late. I don't want you to mess the rest of the guys up. Go ahead, you take that set, go over to the five. Uh, and that's just what it was. I hung up the phone and I told these guys, I said, something weird really happened at that point right then. I don't know if people really believe in like what I would say premonitions or anything like that, but I lost my father, and he was my hunting partner forever. So as soon as I hung up that phone, I heard my father. It like in your head, or I don't know what you want to call it, but there's some divine spiritual uh something there. I don't know how to explain that. Okay. So I heard him tell me, go there. And what he was referencing is this stand location. And like kind of, I seen the stand in my head. Like, so when he said go there, I was able to see that, like where he was talking about. And I like froze for a second. Like I'm driving and I'm like, wait a minute, like, go there. Why would I go there? Like I'm even asking myself, I'm answering my own questions at that point. I'm like, why
Right.
am I gonna go there? Like, what are you talking about? I was like, I haven't had that deer on camera there all year. I haven't really had any good deer there. I was just, I'm like, I don't understand this. But something at that point just said go there when that took place. So I pull up, they're ready to head down the trail, or some of them are already in their spots. And I said, all right, well, I'm going to go to the set, it's actually right along the I-90 expressway. I mean, the stand itself is literally 60 yards off of the expressway, off of the throughway.
I was wondering because in some like Anthony did some live feeds from out in the field, and I could see cars like in a couple times like through the trees. And I was like, man, they're pretty close to a road right there. That's crazy. So
So what it is, it's kind of boxed in. So I have like we have like Route 5 along the lake, and then the other side of the farm is the I-90 expressway, and it's kind of like a funnel. The whole farm is kind of like a funnel. I'll explain it real quick. So I don't want to tell you the crossroad. Okay, I'm not
no,
going to say
you're
that yet.
good. We don't need secrets, so
Yeah.
we're
So
okay.
so there's a crossroad here, and the gentleman that owns the farm on the other side of the road, his name is Patterson, and he has 180 over there acres, and he doesn't allow anybody to hunt over there because years ago somebody shot his barn or something with a gun, and he doesn't allow it. So that's become like a sanctuary. So what happens is they're kind of funneled between the two highways, and we have the whole farm. So as they move east and west, or whatever they're going to do, they kind of come through our farm, and that's just what it is. So that's a sanctuary over there. Ours is, we run it as pristine as possible, as clean as possible, except when the guys come down, they're going to get pressured and it just happens. But and then beyond us, there's another 300 acres that a gentleman from northeast Pennsylvania owns. But he's just one guy for 300 acres. So it doesn't really affect or put a dent on anything. So the whole area gives the deer a chance to be high caliber. You'll get
Mhm.
two, three, four, five different deer showing up that are really good. You know what I mean? Um, so anyway, enough about that. So that morning, like I said, I'm going to the stand. I actually ride an e-bike, so like it's easier for me to get in, get out. I get to the far sections. It makes it easier to hunt, to carry all your gear and everything. Some of the other stand locations are closer and you don't have to, but so I ride the e-bike. I get up around the corn section, and that particular stand, like I said, is about 60 yards right off of the expressway. So I park the e-bike by the corn. I walk probably the 180 yards, maybe 200 yards down to that stand, whatever it is. Uh, I get up in the stand, uh, not really expecting much, right? So daylight is starting to approach. So I'm sitting there, and I actually get a text. I get the text, and I pull my phone out, and it's my buddy Steve, and he's like, "Hey, I can't find the stand." So, like 2 weeks prior, I had to move the tree stand that was there like 30 yards to the right from where it was. And he ultimately wasn't able to find it in the dark. So he got like clustered. He was like, oh my God, forget it, whatever. And he's like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. And I was like, oh my God. So I got frustrated, and I'm like, man, that's where I was gonna sit. Like
Yeah, I could have gone there.
I could have gone there. Like you're there, you didn't even go. Now you're not hunting today. He's like, I'm just gonna go into work early. I need the overtime anyway. I was like, all right, but like I was distraught because I really wanted to sit there. So that's what I mean by these interventions, by things happening um that don't make sense. Like he went there, couldn't find it, then he didn't hunt, but I was already in the stand, so I couldn't go there. It was like these things, and then my dad telling me in this whole 9 yards. So then a couple of the guys are texting, I think it's like around 8 o'clock, and I had a few deer that moved into the area, just a couple small ones, a couple small does, a spike, and I know there was like a 4 point. And I was at the time, I'm like texting them, like I think somebody said they seen a small buck or eight, maybe Anthony seen a 4 point or something. I don't know. Um, and we were just chatting back and forth, and I'm like, man, I got like these 4 or 5 deer. Like I didn't even say that to them, but I was how do I say it? I was baffled because I was like, why are they hanging out here? They were just
Hmm.
hanging out. Like it was this nonchalant thing. And I'm like, well, there's no food here. Like the corn is over there, and if their bedding is that way or behind me in another direction, and I'm like, why are they just hanging out here in the open? Something didn't make sense. So I think they knew that the other deer were behind them, and it was like this whole conglomerate, right? So uh, it's around 8:30, and I actually just put the phone like back in my pocket, kind of, and I looked ahead of me, and I looked down the trail, and I was like, "Whoa, that's a doe coming!" But she's coming at me with like a little bit of vigor. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
vinegar, she was just trotting. So I flipped my seat up real quick, and I kind of grabbed the bow, and one thing I got to fix next year is my bow hanger because it's on this side and it shouldn't be because that
Yeah.
affected my shot, but I wasn't able to get it in the other tree. So anyway, I get up and I grab the bow, and at this time she's coming like really close to me. There's a little embankment she walks up like right in front of me. And she kind of does one of those numbers and she looks right in the tree. And I got the bow like in front of my face, like this, like it's gonna hide me, right? But it's kind of like just breaking up the silhouette, that's what I'm hoping. But the tree is well hidden because there's like four trees. It's in a thing of like 4 or 5 trees. So
Hmm.
it sits back, so the ladder's hidden. It's really it's good. It's a good setup. Um, but she was really intent on me for probably, what seemed like forever, but it was like 15 seconds. And I'm just standing there. I'm like, don't blow. And all I can, don't blow, don't blow. But at the same time, the big guy's coming down the trail behind her. So all I'm seeing is tines come down the trail. Like he's coming, and this is what I see coming down the trail. And she's intently like right on me. And I'm like, if she does something, he's doing it. So if she runs back, he's running back. So I'm like, don't breathe. I'm not, I have so much going on in my mind at that time. I'm like, this is going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's when
Hmm.
my modes kind of switched and everything got serious. And the one thing that saved me is right about then, he's probably 10 yards from her, 30 yards from me, straight on. All these deer like kind of bust out of everywhere. Like there was like four that came from this side and like another four that came out of the woods from my left side. There was like 2 bucks over here with another doe, and they were running around chasing, and they're steaming from the mouths because it's cold that morning, and you could see all this craziness happen. And then as one of the 8 points, he was a decent 8 point too. He would be a shooter. I would probably shoot him if this buck wasn't there. He comes in and he must have there was like a branch or something, and he must have busted right through it because all I heard was snap. It was really, really loud. And as that happened, the doe, actually, the buck kind of veered that way, like was going to stop the 8 point from coming toward her. Like I thought they were going to fight, but no, not with him. So she took her view off of me and looked at that 8 point. Well, when she did that, it like took the pressure off of me. I was like, oh my God, thank you. Like she looked away. And when she did
Right.
that, she noticed it was that buck, and then ultimately she turned back and went to her left. And when she goes to the left, she's going to head into like a thicket, which is right along the thruway. Literally, there's a thruway fence, the I-90 fence, and she's going to head that way into that. It's like a viney thicket. It's not like sagebrush or anything like that. It's just this viney thicket. Well, as she goes to the left and heads in, he's coming right behind her. So as he's coming at about 20 yards, I pull back behind one of the trees and I swing out to go and make the shot between these two trees, right? Well, the bow hanger's here. So it was a cluster, man. It was, I tell you, it's one of those things that it was meant to be, because I pulled back and then I kind of had to do one of those numbers where you're like squatting down and stretching out over
Yeah.
the stand between the trees to be able to shoot. So that's what I did. But in my mind, I had so much going on. It looked like the deer was running, not just
Mm.
like trotting. It looked, because I think my mind was like overloaded because there were so many deer, and I was like, how am I going to beat all these eyes? I had no idea like what I was going to do. Like I never
Yeah.
really had a situation like that ever before, ever. So I lean out, I shoot, I make the shot, whack, um, hits the deer, and I see him take off. But I'm like, oh man, that's like a liver shot. I was like, man, I got him back a little bit. Like that's all I could think in my head. So he goes running to the right off into the thicket, and I don't hear a crash or anything, you know. And then I see all the other deer kind of go. They're all moving. So as I turn around in the stand, I'm watching all the deer go into that thicket, and then they like turn around and they come out of it. And so now they're behind me in the stand, and they're like they come out. And I'm like, okay, all these 12 other deer are like behind me, right? Like chasing, running around, but he doesn't come out. So I'm thinking to myself, the only thing I thought is I got his liver, I heard him, and he went and laid down like
Right.
immediately, you know, maybe 100 yards in there. That's what I was thinking. So I'm like, okay, what do I do now? So I just waited. I don't know, it must have been about 30 minutes. In the meantime, them guys are still texting in the group chat. They're all blah, 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 this and that. And I'm like, I just shot him. And then they're like, wait, what? Who? What are you talking about? And it just, all the threads start coming in, and Anthony's like, I'm on my way. And I'm like, no, no, wait, just wait. Just let's back up. Let's hang on a second. Um, so I was like, I got to give him time. I want to back out. I think it was a liver shot. So normally I would get down and I'd probably check my arrow, right? I'd go over and say, you know, what that tells your story, right? So
Right.
in this situation, I didn't even want to do that. And it's probably a good thing that I didn't. So I was like, I'm just getting out of here. When in doubt, back out. So I backed out and I went back to the truck. And some of the guys are like, we're coming. We're going to meet you right now. So I kind of get into it and I'm telling them the whole situation, you know, and Mike's there and everybody. And I'm like, this is what happened. So I just replayed that like whole story scenario for them. And then out of the blue, I'm like, you know what? Because they kept asking me where my shot was, and it was like I'm kind of guessing, and I was like, liver, kind of back, because he was moving, and I just then I realized I said I got it on Tacticam. I was like, my reveal was running. I said maybe I got it on camera, like maybe just maybe. So I pull up my phone, and all of a sudden I'm looking, and there's the clip. I'm like, look, here it is. So that's when we really started analyzing like Mike's like really looking at it, and then Isaac was, I think he did some slow motion with it and stuff, and that's when, you know, I was like, look, I want to give the deer some time. I was like, you know, a few hours. They're like, no, 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 let's go now. Like they're all trying to talk me into go after this big deer, like within 30 minutes, and I'm just like, no, I just didn't have it in me to be like, yeah, let's go, right? You know, I mean, this is a
Right.
huge swell point. This is a big deer. I mean, it's like a 23-inch spread. It's not a slouch of an animal. I mean, the bases
Mhm.
were like almost 6 inches, like 5 3/4. You know, it was a good,
Yep.
good buck. Probably
It's a
one of
big
my
deer.
biggest. Yeah,
Yep.
right,
It,
right.
it was hard to see on the video. Whenever we looked at it, it looked like he got double lung, and then you didn't see the arrow come out. So we thought it hit the off shoulder, and everyone's like, oh, we got to go get it. It's dead. Well, then when Isaac slowed it down, it ended up being like you could see it, it exited, but it was like right in front of the back leg, kind of like
Hmm.
liver, but back, you know what I mean? So then that's when we were like, okay, we'll go back to the thing, eat lunch, you know, wait 6, 7 hours, and then So if it wasn't for the slow motion, we would have went in there and maybe busted it out, which it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Because I mean, Ryan will get to that, but so yeah, it was crazy being able to see that on the camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was
that no,
a big
that's
help for sure.
that's a crazy clip to just have
Yeah.
at the right time and everything
Yep.
on the reveal. And
Yep.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to the comment section because you sent us the video, Ryan, and we put it on our social media pages, that clip. And I think on Facebook it's gotten over 350,000 views or something at this point. And it's funny to watch people in the comment section like, oh, complete miss, man. Dude gut shot him, or like
Yep.
all of the keyboard warriors are coming out with their educated opinions on
He'll be on your
where he shot
camera this
deer.
afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, but the funny thing is like there's a couple people on there that did what Isaac did, and they for the freaking comment section on a random Facebook post is all the relevance it is to them, right? But they slow it down in slow motion and they're showing the rest of the people in there. It's comical. It's
Yeah.
just some of
It's
these Facebook
definitely
comments.
it's definitely entertaining. And so when we shared it, ours ended up getting over like 1.3 million.
Yeah,
I
I
think it
remember
was
you saying that. That's
through
crazy.
New York outdoor Antler Outdoors. Yeah. So that was crazy just to have that clip. And we did analyze it. And what got me is it was weird. I was at an 18-foot angle, and somehow the arrow, another divine intervention. There's all these things, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It goes, it comes down, but like it's like you shot from a ground blind. Like it petered out and went straight through. It didn't go down like it should have just, it just went in, it caught and went straight through. I was like, whatever. But then you're able to see the where it comes out. There was a lot of blood. Like I had never seen that really before on an exit. Um, so I was kind of baffled. I'm like, man, what do I do? Is that just liver? And we like he said, we went back, had lunch, we discussed it with probably 50 people. Everybody's calling everybody, trying to get everybody's opinion on what to do, where to go, how to do it.
Yeah.
So when we're ready, I'm like, all right, let's go back. And I think it was around 2 o'clock or something, 2:30 that afternoon, maybe 2 o'clock. So we kind of geared up. We had a plan. I was like, look, there's another section like 250 yards down with another stand next to some grapes. I said, Isaac, why don't you go over there, just post up, because if he's laying in that thicket and he's not dead and he happens to jump up and run, we'll have eyes over there at least to say he went that way, or he curved right or he went left, or kind of like a point man. So we did that. Anthony and Mike and myself all went to the stand location. So they start videoing, and Anthony's being himself, crazy Anthony, rolling and having a good time. We get to the arrow, and that's when it became real for me, because if I had checked it before I left, I probably wouldn't have waited so long, because it was coated. It was almost tip to tip, just blood. And I was just like, wow, but it was weird. I had never really seen that color before.
It wasn't
Liver
like
is like,
a meat hit. It was like a weird. It wasn't long where it'd be like pink and bubbly. It wasn't like real dark red like it would be like a meat. It was just like a weird. I don't even know how to explain it. But there was a ton of blood.
yeah, it was like a mixture. It was definitely, it was bright but not crimson, and it was just, I don't know, and it just had this. Anyway, it was caked down there, and I was like, well, that's a good sign. So I believe that I shoot a broadhead called the Hyde by Evolution Outdoors, and I really like the accuracy with it. And I contribute the way, it's actually a hybrid, so it's a fixed and an expandable, and I do contribute some of my success to using that head, because it's very sharp. It's I think it helped do its job. So anyway, we get to the arrow, it's covered in blood, and we're like, well, let's track. So I put in the quiver, we start looking. Anthony and myself are kind of back, we're split up maybe 10 yards, and Mike's kind of like, I'm finding this deer. I could just see it in him. He's like, I'm going to be the first one. I'm putting my hands on it. And he's already, 25 yards ahead of us, up in the getting through. And I'm like, man, this guy. And for some reason, I kind of just swung out to the left a little bit more. And when I did, there's like an opening in the middle of the thicket. And I just looked and I could see the antlers and I could see the body. First thing I could blurt out was, there he is. Like, there it is. And they all look at me and they're like looking up there. And I'm just like, if Mike would have went any farther, he probably would have stepped on him. Like he was just so focused on the blood, like where blood would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to find blood and I wasn't seeing any. So I'm like trying to look at everything and I'm just head down like a dog. And then I wasn't seeing anything. And then all of a sudden he yells and I'm like, I look up and he's like 6 yards away. I'm like, holy cow. I walked right over this thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's for sure. And that's when the emotions hit me. A lot hit me at that time. I thank God, I thank Jesus for everything that happens, especially, in the outdoors, that you're able to harvest something like this.
Yeah.
So between that and the stuff that happened with my dad, that morning, hearing that, and it really hit me. And then to take your number one buck after, 2 years of really trying to put this together, I'm still in shock from it. It still hasn't fully set in. Maybe when I get it back from the taxidermy. But yeah, it was a lot. So I kind of dropped to one knee. I had to get my bearings for a second on that one. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like I just wanted to. I gave this animal his respect. That's what you have to do. And then we got up to it and I just put my hands on him and there was no ground shrinkage. I mean, you see that a lot of times. Honestly, I think he was bigger than he was on camera, because you see the camera, and that's what we got to talking about with the guys. Like, maybe I was desensitized to the caliber of the animal because Mike kept saying it's a giant, and I grab the deer, I literally, and I pull it back, and it's wider than I am, and it doesn't really sink in like how big of an animal this is. So like, I think I was just desensitized because I was so on him so much, like all the cameras, all the footage. It just became another deer to me. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? But everybody else is like, oh my God, where's that thing from? You know what I mean? And it's like New York, and
monster.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. And some people they're like, that's got to be AI or it's not, I'm like, no, it's a real buck,
Yeah.
But most people couldn't believe it because they're like, how does an animal like that get that big without being killed when it goes on the neighbor's property, because that's what everybody talks about. Like, the minute their deer leave, the neighbor gets them. But in my area, it's kind of like a little sanctuary, like our 150, the 300 and the 180 across the road. You're over 500 acres plus cornfields and a ton of acorns that these deer have the ability to grow and to get big. I mean, you really have two guys on our 150, one guy on the 300 and none on the 180. So over 500 acres for these deer to grow. And that's really, I think, how they can become that caliber, that 5-year-old, that 6-year-old, that 8-year-old animal. Because, last year like I said, I got Floppy. He was a good buck. He was an 11.8-year-old. And we still have the big 8. He just showed back up on the farm, actually. He's a really big buck with a small little kicker off the back. He's got to be 5 or 6 now. So, but he's probably 150, 160 inch 8-point. He's a buck.
Massive deer. Massive deer. That's crazy.
For sure. So it's like, I just don't think people could understand like how it's feasible that how they're growing so big. And it's just like, hey, you just give them their space, like I said, back to the cameras too, like that's really what helped me. I had learned in the beginning that he was on one side of the farm, that was his summer habitat that I learned. I'm like, oh, he's coming out of the corral area and it's like clockwork. I was like, this is going to be easy. Well, didn't happen that way. And then right around the last week of September, he just kind of like said, see ya. Never set foot back over there again. And what he had done is directly went straight across the farm and bedded up on this back piece over there. There's some CRP that meet along a point on this timber, but there's like a little ditch, right? And I did some scouting on a rainy day just before the team came out, actually, maybe like a week and a half, and I found his bedding, and I found all these rubs and like 6 or 7 scrapes. That's one thing about the farm. For some reason, I've got so many scrapes that it doesn't really make sense. I think I counted like 30 this year,
Wow.
and in 150 acres. But it's not even all timber. You have 40 acres of corn. So it's just like everywhere there was scrapes. But when I found his bedding, that's what really helped me set up. And I'll tell anybody that if you can find their bed, you can backtrack them both directions. And then, just kind of what I do is I'll set a cam there, on either side of the bedding, like 50 yards, whatever way they're coming in and out. And then I'll have cams out on the points or on the corner. So they try to make these big loops. And that's what he was kind of doing. But it wasn't always the same. Sometimes he would go to the creek bottom. Sometimes he would go up to the corn. So then I just started putting them in a line. It probably took me all of 20 of my tacticams to hone in on him. Like
Wow.
I would put him like every 100 yards, every 150 yards, and it was like a checkpoint. Like he would knock him off, and I'm like, okay, so there he goes. So then I had that route, and then I'm like, where does he go from there? And then I'd put 6 more going out that direction, and then he would hit him, and then I'd find him over here, and then I would know, okay, well, take those 2 down because they're too far, and then bring them over here. And I kind of just made this whole circle, and it took quite a too much time. My buddy even said, my buddy said, you're going crazy. I was like, listen, I wholeheartedly believe when you find an animal like that, if you don't devote every asset and every ability that you can to get it, you won't, because they're too smart. They're like using that trail. Now hindsight is 2020, right? I'm thinking to myself, that buck came down that trail. Why? I wasn't thinking this at the time, but the divine intervention obviously knew. They had cut the corn. So once the corn was cut, they couldn't access that side of the farm because the corn was gone. They would be in the open. So they had to
Mhm.
come to the back trail, or close to it to move east to west again. So me not even thinking that's after the fact. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. It was good. It's a huge buck. I mean, I've got a lot of compliments on it. It is by far my biggest. I do have some on the wall, but not like that guy. Like
No,
that's just
that's a toad, man.
he's a beast,
Absolute,
you know.
absolute toad.
And I'm glad Mike was there. I'm glad Anthony and Todd and everybody. It was just it was a good time. I'm more upset that they didn't get a deer. And Mike says to me, he's like, "Man, you're a different breed." We got to talking. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, "You're different." He's like, "You didn't miss a beat." And I'm like, "Explain yourself. I'm not understanding."
Well, he just shot his deer, and then as we're loading it up, he's on his phone and he's on the Tacticam, like you can do statistics and tag deer and stuff. He's like, "Oh, there's a buck tag. Oh, there's another buck on the other side tag." I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing?" He's like, "I can't." He's like, "I got to keep going because if I stop now, I got to have some for gun season. I got to have some for next year."
I gotta get my
I'm
fix,
like,
man.
and I'm just looking at him like cross-eyed. I'm like, "You're nuts." I said, "This is why you got this deer, because you put the time in, and you're doing all this above and beyond more than anybody else, and then your hard work is paid off." So that's
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
That's 100% what it is. So
yeah.
I do want to get your perspective, Mike, not to backtrack or, be repetitive with the going through the story and everything, but I know a big part of Ryan uh wanting you on the show also was the fact that you were there for the recovery.
Oh yeah, yep.
So talk about your perspective from that a little bit.
Well, when we first got there and I met Ryan in person, because we've talked on texting and through Zoom and everything, I said, because I just came off the high of shooting my deer in West Virginia. I tagged out. You remember that? And I told
Yeah.
him, I said, I'm here to put my hands on your buck. And he's just kind of looking at me. He's like, I don't even know you. Like, you know, so
Weirdo.
I'm like, I'm here to hold your deer. That's why I'm here. He's like, well, what about shooting your own deer? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm here for you. So then I'm glad it worked out that way. But just the whole leading up to that moment of him shooting it, and then later after he has killed it and taken it to the processor, I actually sat in that stand, and it is the loudest, noisiest. I don't even know how he could even hear the deer, you know what I mean, even sit there and hunt. Like there's no silence. You're hearing semi trucks whiz by and deer are fighting so bad they're throwing each other into the fence between the throughway and and I'm just like,
to interrupt that, when I get back to the truck, I tell these guys, hey, I just shot this big buck, and there was like 12 or 15 deer with them. And they're all looking at me sideways, like, yeah, okay, buddy, you just shot a 190 or 200-inch deer, and there was 15 deer with them. Okay, like, okay, like you're nuts, buddy. Like something's wrong with you. So he actually goes, I think the next day, and hunts, and then you can tell him kind of what happened,
Yeah, well, I'm sitting there, and then like how he was saying, as you're facing that trail that comes down, his camera's to the right, two does bust out and a couple bucks behind it to my left. I'm trying to grunt and whatever. They don't want nothing to do with it. Then about 5 minutes later, three or four more come, and then there's 6 or 8 bucks in behind those two does. And like I said, they're over there just going nuts. I mean, weaving between trees, throwing each other into the fence. I mean, it was, and I was trying to video it, and I showed Ryan the video. He's like, this is hard to see what's going on. I said, I know, because there were so many deer. I'm just like this, like over here, over here, over here, over here. I was like, dude, I've never seen anything like that in my life. Like, right, like you'll see a buck and maybe 2 bucks and a doe, 2 of them chasing the same doe, whatever, but not 15 deer. I mean, it was just
crazy.
absurd. And I couldn't believe it. And he's texting me. I told him about it. And he's like, I told you. And I'm like, I'm shaking more now than I have any deer I've ever shot. I'm standing in that ladder stand, just the whole tree's shimmying. I'm like, it was crazy. It was an awesome experience. But to get back onto his deer, it was just, I mean, I don't know. We kept telling him to go get it and go get it. And like we talked about Ryan while we were there. I don't know why we kept, like, someone was telling me, like, pushing me to have to, like, he needs to go get it. He's got to get it. Well, that deer wasn't, I mean, it was stiff as a board when we got to it. It had to have been dead for at least 5 of the 6 hours. So we probably could have got down out of the stand and went and got it. But like he said, like that the higher power, like someone was telling me, like, you need to go get that deer. It's dead. And he's like, well, how do you know? I'm like, I don't know, but this is what you need to do.
And it's true. It's not funny. It wasn't just him. It was the whole team, and it was everybody they called. Like, I'm showing these people this shot on the deer, which is like liver back. And what we end up thinking is that it caught the artery in the back. And that's what ultimately put it down so fast, that's the only conclusion I can come to. But, on a buck like that, you're always told to wait, pump the brakes, hold on, but everybody, like Lawson, this one, that one, everybody talked to, like, oh, it's a dead deer, go get it. I'm like, what are you guys saying to me?
Lawson sent him the chart, the grid. It's the deer with, like, it has like A through G on top and then 1 through 10 on the bottom, and it has the squares, and it's like, Ryan's like, I don't forget what it was. It's like 9, like 10B or something. And Lawson's like, go get it. He's like, he's talking to him. What do you mean? Oh, it's dead. Go get it. And Ryan's like, no, I'm not going. I'm not going. Well, that was already 3 hours in. That deer was done and expired by then. I mean, it was one of the most ethical, non-ethical shots. I don't know how to word it. You know what I mean? It's like, you see, double lung deer or heart shot deer run further. I mean, I'm telling you, when we got to the arrow and to where we found the deer, it couldn't have been 40 yards from where he shot it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and it never got up. Where it laid is where it expired. Yep.
That's
crazy. There was no blood trail. There was nothing. There was a little bit of blood where he laid, but that was it. There was no. It was baffling, and I started asking him, like, look at the shot, like, look what like, there was just so many interventional things that, like, I don't know, it takes you back. It makes you wonder like what,
It's meant to be,
and
man.
to take that even further back, it's almost like I knew I was going to get the deer during the year, right? Like my buddy had been hunting him too. Like it was fair game. He's there, he could get him, I could get him. It is what it is. And every time there was three times that he should have been able to harvest that animal. One, he like changed his setup and the deer walked by where he was at. The second one, he got in there like late and the deer had gone by 10 minutes before. And then something with the third time, I couldn't remember what it was. And he had him on camera at the scrape and something, and I don't know, but three times. And then after that third time, I said, you know what? He's not supposed to get that deer. And I said that to myself in the stand. I was like, man, because I was like, after the first time, I was like, man, maybe he's going to get this deer. He's kind of on him too. And after it didn't happen the first time, the second time, the third time, I said to myself, and you're talking before the team even came, like 2 weeks before, I was like, he's not going to get that deer. Like I'm supposed to get that deer. Like I'm just supposed to, not supposed to, but something was aligning like
Yeah.
that he didn't get it. I was able to. And then just all these things that led up to it. Like it's really weird. Like
One
it's
of the
for the better,
craziest
I guess.
experiences I've ever been a part of. It's, I mean, if you weren't there, you can say, oh, it was staged or he's just trying to get views or whatever. I mean, all the things that you're saying are 100% true. There's no BS. There's no fudging. You can't make it up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so crazy of a story that who would sit there and you'd have to think all year how can I explain this to lie to somebody? And it's crazy. But it was a great time. And if he called and asked to go again, I'd be up there in a heartbeat. It was an amazing experience. So
That's the most important thing, man. I mean,
yep,
obviously everybody wants to punch their tag, everybody wants to kill a deer, but at the same time, the people you're with and the experience that you have, that's what makes a trip right there. That's what
absolutely.
makes a
Yep,
hunt in my book. So
Yeah, we had
yep.
fun. We really did. We had fun. And there was some issues too because I wasn't used to them cutting the corn so early. So
mm,
that threw a monkey wrench in it. Usually when the corn in the 40 acres is up, the deer pop out even more all over the place. And they probably would have had better chances at buck and certain things. And with that, and then maybe killing this matriarch off the farm, it kind of threw everything in a tizzy. Plus the pressure. So like after like the third day, it got really difficult on deer. You were just if you saw anything, it was a straggler. So, but it is what it is. And then we moved the guys to the other farm, and they got to see some of that up in the country. That's where Mike likes to hunt because it's in the middle of nowhere and it's pristine and quiet. Except today, there was about 250,000 gunshots. Uh, yeah, we're sandwiched in between state land there. But
Yep.
yeah, it's different. It's a different, and people don't understand, like, they don't think these big deer can be by the highways like that. And that's why they live there because guys don't hunt there.
there's no pressure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna phone one in right here real quick, because we do these live shows and this is being recorded as a live show. And actually, in the chat section here, we got a question that popped up, and speaking more in general terms, I guess here, I'm trying to understand the context. Maybe y'all can help me. It says, "What are y'all's thoughts about letting it sit if it's a bad shot and the deer going to bed and packing off the wound?" So the way I understand that is they're asking about a bad shot, and I guess it clots off when the deer beds down.
Yeah, like maybe the guts will go into the wound and try to close it up.
Yeah,
I don't know. Every deer's different. A lot of
yeah.
them have more will to live than others, I guess you could say.
They're tough
Uh,
animals, man,
they
all the
are.
way around. It's crazy. So
But like with Ryan's shot, like if that was me and all the other powers weren't saying go get it, I would have left it till the next day and the deer would have been ruined. But since we kept pushing him, you know what I mean? Usually it's like 7 hours minimum for anything other than like a lung or, heart shot, something like that. I It just all depends really. It's specific to that deer, where you shoot it. It's kind of hard to say, is it going to bed up and clot up, or if you jump it and you're tracking it, will it unclog and bleed? You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to.
I think it all depends on, like, we kind of seen where the hit was. We were lucky to have the camera too, like
Yep.
the footage, and we were able to see all the blood come out on the exit. So like if it's a gut shot, they're going to lay down. It's going to take 12, 24. Can it clot up in certain circumstances? Yes. I mean, it's all depending on the hit. Like even one lungs, they heal them up. They get healed. It's just it all
Yep.
depends. Every deer and buck especially, they're
Yep.
tough. Like they're
Hmm.
And then if
Yeah.
they're in the rut and they got all that, their blood's moving and everything's all, and then it's
They're
hard
all
for them to
amped,
get
yeah.
calmed down. Yep, yep. And then like your broadhead size, fixed blade, mechanical, that all plays a factor into the size of the hole, what it does when it's inside. If you know what I mean, if you hit a rib, you hit a whatever. So it's all different, situational, I could say.
I would agree with that for sure.
Yep.
Well, man, an awesome deer for sure. And one, I know you say it's not about the record books, but one for the record books. So that's pretty cool as well. But congrats, man. I'm happy for you. And that's as this whole episode so far has led into it. That's a lot of hard work that paid off right there. So you were talking, I don't remember if it was at the beginning or if it was before we started recording, but you were talking about how I was like, man, it's almost bittersweet because now he's not on my cameras anymore, and now I don't get to watch him or plan for it anymore, and it's like, man, that feeling will pass pretty soon because eventually you'll have another big one show up, and all it's starting over from square one again, then, man.
I
Another one
really
will
hope so, but
hit
it,
your
it is
fancy.
bittersweet. It really is. Like he's not on the cams, it's not that addictive thing, not that outsmarting thing, Yeah, I mean, they'll show up, but I don't know a caliber like that. That's hard to beat, man.
Oh
When
yeah,
you're breaking 200, that's hard in New York. That's not, I mean,
it's a
that's
big
hard
deer.
anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big deer. Well, before we run out of time for the podcast, I wanted to give you, switching gears just a little bit, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about some of your other endeavors and everything, because you had mentioned wanting to share that with some folks. Because you've also, while you've been hunting big deer up there in New York and spending all your time on your Reveal Cell Cam app, you've been working on developing a product for bow hunters as well. So you want to talk a little bit about what you got going on?
Oh yeah. So the company's Rytac. That's our company. Rytac Hunt Systems. RytacHunt.com is the website. And it was for situations just like that.
Yeah.
A bad hit, you didn't know where it went, maybe a lost blood trail, something along those lines. And it happened to me before. I lost a really big buck years back. My old man lost one. And it got to the point where, like, no matter what we do, you could spend all the money on plots and arrows and blinds and clothing and cameras. And even if you get that shot, you're not guaranteed the animal. You're on your hands and knees, you're going through the brush, you're trying to find it, and then it just you lose blood. It's just you can't find it, and that's what happens. So I said no more. Like the last 2 years I've tossed it around. We've been fighting on the best way to do this, and we ended up coming out with a collar system. So what's going to happen is the collar will screw into your arrow, and then your broadhead will screw into our collar. Uh, that collar will ultimately have a GPS in it, and upon impact, when you shoot the animal, it'll eject into the animal and start transmitting to our app. And then you're able to go on the app, follow the animal. It's going to have a temperature sensor in there. You're going to be able to see the situation, where it went. You have a compass, or you'll have a direct line to be able to get to the animal. Or if it's still living and moving, you'll know. There'll be like a green or a red that it'll turn, and it'll tell you, hey, the animal's still moving. Or it kind of just it settles your mind. Not only for it's for recovery. That's the whole goal. Like everybody says, recover your animal. You owe it to that animal to recover it. You know what I mean? Like you can't just willy-nilly it. So that's why Rytech decided to come out with the Hide Finder. It's at pre-sales actually on now through Black Friday and through December. RytechHunt.com. You can purchase that now. First deliveries, we're shooting for like the springtime, as long as everything flows properly. Um, but yeah, it's been a long road to get to where we're at. But it's going to be great. Like once you're able to go on the app and follow the animal, and we've had conversations with DC and other people, and they're like, man, that's a good thing. They're like, in New York, our laws are antiquated, so we're still catching up. So as things change and other states adopt, we're going to do the same thing because, um, who doesn't want to recover their animal, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
right. Or at least if like if I knew when I shot that buck, he went and laid down, I would say okay, or he didn't move for I would know he was dead, or the body temperature dropped. I would see it on the app. Like it would give me some peace of mind because these guys says Michael's like, you're frantic. You're gonna go nuts. You're gonna go nuts. Like them 6 hours. Do you know what that 6 hours did to me?
Yeah,
Like
that's a long
He
that
didn't.
takes
He
a
didn't
couple
eat. He didn't sit down. He didn't blink. He didn't breathe. He
that'll
just.
take a
He was
couple
like.
years off your life.
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And a lot of guys leave them overnight and it's the same thing, so it's our goal was to provide, it's just another tool in the archer's toolkit, you know what I mean? Like to make it better. Like it gave us a chance, it's going to give us a chance, and um, I think it just alleviates a lot off your mind. Like, I every year I see it in the forums, hey, does anybody have a dog? Hey, can you come find my deer? I can't find it. And it's repetitive. There's no
Mhm.
answer. So we wanted to be the solution to that problem. So hopefully 2026 is a good year and things start rolling, but it'll be launched 2026, but they can purchase it now, like I said, ritaghunt.com.
That's a lot of technology packed into a tiny little thing. That's pretty impressive. How
It is. I can't really talk about it. It's
okay.
patent pending and stuff, but uh, the PCB, which is it's like the control board that was specifically made for our GPS unit. It's in an epoxy coating. There's certain ways that it's going to be released into the animal from our collar, and then the collars are reloadable. So your collar is going to stay on your arrow. That'll be good. You have two of them or whatever. And then obviously, let's say you shoot the animal and you can't find the little GPS, capsule. Well, you just buy a 5 pack. And then all you do is you'll take your phone and it'll link via QR code. You'll take that capsule, link it, it'll be ready again. You can load it into your collar, good to go. They last for 72 hours, battery time frame. We're shooting for a mile to a mile and a half recovery distance. But of course, that depends. Um, we did implement one feature. This is all being made as, over time as it's been a while. We added a community feature. So you'll be prompted once you find your animal, because we're trying to build it as a community. We want people to stand behind the product as we do. You'll be prompted to say, hey, there's my animal, deer, bear, hog, whatever, take a picture, share it. We're going to have a social feed built right into the app, things like that. We're trying to, you know, bring the hunters together too. So
Yeah.
it is a lot of technology. It is. We've got a great team. Unfortunately, and not unfortunately, I shouldn't say that. It's being built overseas. And the only reason I had to go that route, our company and our investors, it was just too expensive in America for the technologies, right?
Hmm.
So we were able to get it done a little, cheaper over there, which is going to help us bring it to market, and along with all the patenting and everything that it's taken to to get
Yeah.
to where we're at. So we should have finished for sale prototypes in December. We were going to try to make the ATA show. I don't know if that's going to happen, but our goal is maybe the show in February in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
um, to get some of that out there. But like I said, we're going to sell it from our website. We're going to have people believe in our product. We can do this ourselves, and uh, down the line, if we get into big box stores and stuff like that, that's fine. But we're really just trying to be the one to solve that problem. Like I see too much of it. I see too many lost animals, and I'm pretty sure this is the solution.
Well, yeah, that we'll be following eagerly, man. I know you've been sharing what you can with us as time goes on through the building process, and you're as you mentioned, you're obviously public on your own platforms now, and I know you've written uh, an article or a piece about it for our website that's on there that people can find, and doing this show and stuff, posting about it. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to see where it goes and to see the results of something like that, because that's industry changing right there. If that works like you're advertising, which it should. So it's going to be fun. But
100%. Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Well, before since we're talking about deer and bow hunting and all this fun stuff, before we wrap it up, I want to turn over to you real quick, Mike, because when we had you on the show a few episodes ago, um, I think it was hot on the heels maybe the day after you shot your first West Virginia uh, buck down there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you put right before this hunt where I think you alluded to it earlier, where you went with Ryan, you shot another deer, and you want to tell us about that one real quick before we hang it up?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was the 8th I shot my first buck, and then it could have been a week later, 2 weeks later. So it was we left that Thursday. So that Sunday, I'd been watching this deer. He was a big 10 point. And so he was like on a pattern. So every 7 days he would come past the camera, and on the 8th day he would go back where he was coming. So he did that 3 times, 3 weeks in a row. I'm like, okay, well, this Sunday was his 8th day. He should have been coming back across the ridge and going back down into the ravine, which he did, but it didn't end up working out the way I had it planned. And unfortunately, I didn't get it on video, but I did get him doing his little thing before I shot him. But so he come down, instead of coming across the ridge, there was a couple does, and then they moved off, and they were making some noise over in the thick stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, they're gone. So maybe, the buck will come. So I hear it again, like the same kind of rustling around and heavy walking, and well, it's just a doe. Well, this guy pops out right on the logging trail that I walked in. It's like 7/8 of a mile to get into where I was hunting at. So you had to go over a couple power lines, down a creek, back up the hill, and cut all the way back to where it was feasible to even shoot a bow because it's so thick. So you see the antlers. He turns and he starts walking down the trail from that I came up, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now? I wasn't ready. I just like Ryan, just put my phone back in my pack, and I'm like looking around. I had the camera set up on the ridge, like he's gonna come. Nope, didn't work. Pull the grunt call out, hit it a couple times, and he just turns on a dime and walks straight back up the hill. And I'm in the tree. There wasn't a lot of trees, right on the edge of the logging road, and he walks right underneath me. So I'm like trying to bump the camera with my arm with the bow, and he gets like 8 yards to my left, and you could hear it on the video. And I'm shooting straight down. I shoot, and you heard it on the video. Like I said, he went down over the hill, couldn't see him after 10 yards. It was so thick, and he got on that logging road there and then died. But it was the biggest deer that I've ever seen other than Ryan's, obviously. But at the time, it was the biggest deer I've ever got to put my hands on. And I think when we measured at green, it was like 148 and a half or 3/4. So it was a big West Virginia deer. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow.
So,
that's awesome.
And then luckily the people that were helping me knew the adjoining property owner. So then he came with his side 4-wheeler, and we had a side by side. It took us 2 hours to cut a trail and to get it out. That's how thick it was. Nasty. I mean, just the worst thing you could ever think of. But that's where all the deer are at. You know what I mean? It's just,
yeah.
If it's easy, they're not going to be there. That's what I try to tell people all the time. It's like, it's hard to get them to understand it, but that's where they like to be. So,
wow.
Unless it's the throughway.
Yeah, unless it's a throughway, then they just fight and throw each other against the fence.
They just got to find a parking spot then.
That's all. Yep. Yeah, no, it was a great experience. Probably one of the hunts I'll never forget. It was just something. Yeah. Like I said, I wish I could have got the shot and everything, but when I shot, and it's weird now as I get older, I'm not nervous before, but as soon as I get done, like I could have fell out of the tree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was so ready for the moment. I'm like, everything's good. And then I couldn't, I'm like, I'll call you back. Like, can't even talk on the phone.
About to pass out. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So, but man, it was great. Like I said, coming off of that and then going to New York, I told Ryan, I said, I don't need to shoot anything. I'm just here for the experience, man. I said, this is the best year I've ever had. It's awesome. So, but
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, happy for both you guys. That's good stuff right there. Before we hang it up, I do want to plug your show, Mike, because y'all did an episode in camp there, is my understanding with Ryan and the crew and everything. So,
yep.
you want to tell folks if they're interested in listening to that, where they can find it?
Yeah, it's Panhandle Whitetails, and it's on Spotify, and you can hear Ryan's firsthand. It was that evening after he shot the deer, and you can get his, just like you did today. It was a little bit more in depth. I think it ran almost. We had to split it into 2 episodes. It was almost 2 hours long. So he really got into it. He had vivid memory of everything, and it was awesome. It was just, even though we lived it, just to tell the story. Every time I hear it, I'm just, it blows me away. So
No, that's the way to do it, man. Recording
yep.
a show like that after a hunt like that in camp. Like sometimes it feels repetitive in the moment, but I mean, man, you're gonna have that the rest of your life to go back and relive the emotion that you felt, right after
Yep.
killing a deer like that. And that's
No,
the
I
cool
feel
part.
it. Trust me. I know. I know, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, I was gonna actually congratulate two of our people too, Kessler and Isaac. I think they put good deer down today. Also, I seen.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did see something about that. I think I, I know I commented on Cass. I think I saw Isaac's very briefly before I got pulled away to something else. But yeah, it's that time, man. Deer hitting the ground, and it's been a good year so far for our fall obsession team. Proud of it.
Yeah.
It's good stuff for sure.
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, gentlemen, thank you all. We'll wrap up the show. Appreciate y'all coming on the podcast and taking some time out of your Saturday evening to recap an awesome experience. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I know it won't be long before we do the next one, but thank you guys for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast. Subscribe if you hadn't already, and I'll be back with you guys again next time for another episode. Catch you then. Hang tight, fellas. All right, we'll get the YouTube feed ready.